John Mayer's new album comes out this Friday, as if you're clicking this video you probably already knew, and a lot of us are pretty excited for it. In preparation for the album, I've basically spent the last week just going over tons of different John Mayer interviews and solos and playing, just as a throwback from all his stuff and to get hyped up for the album. Today I've compiled my top 5 favorite John Mayer guitar solos of all time. I'm just going to go through them and break down why they're my favorite guitar solos from John. I'm going to talk about things like the subtle techniques involved, his tone, the style of his playing, some little nuances you might not notice, and just why it makes for such a great solo. Later this week, once the album's released, we're going to be making a few tutorials for some of the songs on it. I don't know what songs yet because the album's not out yet, but check into that later this week. And with that, let's get into it. Here's number 1. Such a smooth, clean guitar tone while still being such a rough around the edges rock song. Obviously, the other biggest thing you're going to notice is floppy wrist right there. And first time we watched this one, we didn't really know what he was doing. Like, I've never seen that kind of such a fast floppy wrist kind of motion. What he's actually doing there with his left hand, he's muting 5 out of the 6 strings, so there's only actually 1 note playing. And that lets him strum all 6 strings with his right hand. So he's basically playing a chord, but only 1 note's coming out. But the pick scraping along the muted strings makes it so it's a much fuller sound, which gives it a lot more beef and oomph to it than if it was just a single note. And it also lets him be kind of sloppy with his right hand so that he can focus on keeping the groove and keeping the rhythm, and then the left hand is what's doing everything for the notes. Wait, what was that? Play that again. I want to see that. Alright, this one. Why do I love this one so much? It's 2 guys just having a ton of fun together playing the guitar. There's nothing more to it than that. It's Buddy and John just going back and forth, kind of having this conversation between 2 guitarists as they're playing. One thing I noticed a little bit in there is that John's playing a lick and then Buddy's just responding to that lick more or less an octave up. So we've got this kind of call and response with a different tone to it. Special shout out to the unnamed saxophonist, who is kind of the 3rd guy in this solo. All 3 of them were doing just as much, and it was really cool to see all 3 of them come together and just make this hilariously fun pile of blues music.
when she's gone.
So here he's coming in with something that right away is a very, very stylistically polar opposite from some of the other soloists we've seen. A ton of vibrato, and it's just this slow, soft, quiet blues jam that really just, you can feel the tension, you can feel the build-up with every note he plays. This part here is actually really funky. What he's doing here is he's just playing a pentatonic riff down at the 3rd and 5th frets on his left hand. And then with his right hand, he's basically just slapping the fretboard. But what that's doing is creating an artificial harmonic up at the higher frets, around like 15 to 17. And so you get that octave harmonic sound, which is really interesting. And that's what creates the actual rhythms from this. And he's bending and playing a riff with the left hand, with the harmonics on the right hand, which just gives that. I mean, what can you say? The guy spends most of the solo playing the guitar on the ground and plays it perfectly. You can definitely see the Hendrix influence when he goes behind the back. I didn't even know John could do that. This is the Gravity solo, which is obviously one of his most classic songs, but it just took it to an entirely another level right here. That was just incredible. The one other thing that this really reminded me of is it was just a simple part at the beginning of the solo. It's just a small, I think it was like 3 or 4 note rise. It really reminded me of Eric Clapton's best live version of Wonderful Tonight. That's my favorite moment of that entire song, and you can see how sometimes music is just, it doesn't have to be complicated, it just has to make you feel something. It's well known that Eric Clapton was a big influence on John Mayer throughout his career, so I wonder if this is something that he had in mind when he was thinking of this solo.
Down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees.
Okay, so this one right here, it's not technically a solo, it's actually just an intro to Crossroads when he was live in Toronto, which is actually an hour away from where I live. The basis of what he's doing here, I think, is something similar to what he plays in Neon. And what John's been known to do is use a lot of really interesting, innovative right-hand techniques. Here, he's basically picking with his thumb, and that's where the notes come from, and then alternating with a bit of a rake on his right hand there. So you get this boonts, boonts, boonts kind of drum beat going along. And what he says in his interview is he gets this drum beat, and then once he's got that rhythm, he starts adding in the notes in the left hand. And the notes in the left hand are just your basic blues scale. That's when you combine it with that funky drum beat rhythm, you get this really bluesy, cool, interesting funk sound. And there you have it. These are my favorite John Mayer solos of all time. They're a ton of fun to go through and see all the stuff he's done. I think we're all excited to hear his new album on Friday. We'll have some videos on that, so check them out soon. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments, if I should do more like this. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.